Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. 2 days after Hump Day. I don't know what that means, but it is October 20th. It is day 604 of Russia's catastrophic 3 day military operation. I bet you didn't think that today would be a record setter. We broke through a couple of milestones, if you want to call it that, on the equipment loss standpoint. But boy, oh boy, did the Russians did. I don't know what to say. I've never seen losses like this since. I don't know if has there been losses like this since World War II for anything ever. Like, it's astounding. So I'm going to cover off the Russian losses over the last 24 hours. I should call it the Ukrainian successes over the last 24 hours. Briefly going to answer some Twitter DMs that I received regarding the Middle East and some apparently some rumors or misinformation, and then yeah, we'll cover off a couple of pieces of footage and finish off with the prez. So to start with, 1,380 troops were lost. Now, I don't want to sound gleeful because, again, those are human beings. At the same time, those are human beings that are attempting to kill, maim, destroy, etc. Ukrainians. Um, the the 1,380 is, I believe, 300 troops more than the highest total. I think it was just around 11. No, yeah, maybe 1,080. I literally think it might be exactly 300 troops more than the record day ever up until today for troops lost. If somebody knows, if somebody can, dig through the past or whatever and drop a comment in the chat or whatever and let me know if I'm close. But I had 1,080 in my head. Maybe we broke 1,100. I might be wrong. But anyways, I was not expecting this kind of number result today, with what I thought was a bit of a slowdown in the Avdiivka front, and possibly the Russians culminating. I don't think they want to culminate. I don't think that they're giving up. I think that somebody has put a memo out that said, "Take Avdiivka before winter." 55 tanks is unheard of. I don't know what the record tanks was. I don't even have that number in my head. I'm usually pretty good remembering old random numbers, and that one I'd have to do some looking. I thought it was in the 30s, maybe 28, 30 something, but and APVs. I know this one. It was 91. It wasn't too long ago. 120 APVs they lost over the last 24 hours. Like, just think about that. That is five APVs an hour for a full day straight. That's insane. That's insane. In each one of those APVs, like I've always said, typically two crew, could be three depending on what they are, but typically two crew. The troop transport ones are carrying 6 to 8 guys in the back. Sometimes they carry 6 to 8 guys on top. Some of them are empty. Some of them would be parked, that sort of thing. Some of them would be IFVs, infantry fighting vehicles, and maybe have nobody in the back, or two or three guys, or just one guy manning the gun, or whatever it is. So it runs the gamut. But when you lose 120 APVs, I always say, okay, so cut them in half. Say half were empty and half were full, right? And let's say those half were full of 7 guys. So 60 APVs had people in it, and there was 7 per APV. So that's 420. That would be 420 people lost just with half of those. So that's where the 1,380, if the APVs is accurate, sounds pretty accurate. 29 artillery systems, which is Scary to say, par for the course for MLRS, which is really, really good. That's, like when you take out the toss and the BMP 21 grads and that sort of thing. That's good news for the Ukrainians. 8 UAVs, nothing really too special there, and 1 cruise missile. There was one of the Russian small UAV and cruise missile attacks over the last 24 hours. I believe that they just use these for probing to see where the latest placement of the air defense is. Typically you see these like really lull days where it's like 0, 1, 2, 10, whatever, and then all of a sudden you see a 40 or 50 pop up as the Russians sort of build up their stocks again from the wash machines that they imported. On the loss front too, looking at the specifics, so we're approaching 10,000 APVs. I said, don't clean out your ears. Well, you should always. It's healthy, but I didn't misspeak. We are approaching 10,000 APVs. We're approaching 10,000 vehicles and fuel tanks. The Ukrainians just crossed the 5,000 mark for tanks. 5,000 tanks have been lost to the Ukrainian military and farmers. Remember back in the day, the farmers would go chugging along with their green tractors and their red tractors and their tanks and APVs behind them. We just crossed 7,000 artillery systems. 7,000 artillery systems. Some countries haven't owned 7,000 artillery systems in their entire existence. Going over history. And Russia has lost 7,000 artillery systems in 2 years. That is insane. And no other milestones. I don't think we crossed any other milestones. Special equipment, we're approaching 1,000. And again, that special equipment, that can be anything from bridge laying, mine clearing, trench digging, etc. Anything unique that's kind of, doesn't stand out on its own. And we are approaching $93 billion in losses. We're $92,954,000,000. So if a day like today happens tomorrow, we could basically see ourselves cross the 93 billion threshold. Again, that's my math. That's me doing a bunch of math behind the scenes to try to calculate the losses for each of these. I do have my ongoing beef with the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense, Defense Department reporters, whatever, because they're very, very conservative on what they're reporting. We have no planes and no helicopters for the last 24 hours. The planes that were hit, the helicopters that were hit in Berdyansk, it was 8, I think it was 8 confirmed, 9 most likely, and 10 possible. You know what I mean? I believe we only had 7 of them added to the total helicopters, if I remember correctly. Fine. In Luhansk, there was a before and after photo that I posted yesterday, where the the ATACMS hit the Luhansk helicopter base as well. Smaller hit, maybe just 1 missile. And the before and after, so the after shot, it didn't show any carcasses of helicopters or whatever, because of the fact that it's believed that they were, the satellite picture was so old, so late in coming, that the Russians had time to kind of move all of the destroyed equipment. But there were 5, I believe, new black smudge marks. So I think the Ukrainian military and the people that report it are basically like, well, we have no visual confirmation. Didn't happen. We're not going to report it until we know for sure, until the Russians say it, until we see it, whatever. I get it, but I think this helicopter number, I think it's at least at 329. And I always put the planes one ahead of where they are, because I know for a fact that they missed a plane. That was definitely reported, and it happens. I miss stuff, they miss stuff, everybody misses stuff. They should miss less than us humans, because there's a lot of them and they represent the military. But so that I'm pretty confident in that number. This number should be 5 higher, I believe. I wanted to address those comments that I received on Twitter messages from overnight. I'm not sure where it's coming from, but I'll just address it head on. No, Iran did not attack the U.S. No, Iran and the U.S. are not at war. Nowhere. The Iranian National Guard, the Iranian Quds Force, the Iranian regular forces, Iran did not attack U.S. bases. Iran did not attack U.S. ships. No. In Yemen, the Houthi rebels, which were funded by the Iranian government, did fire some cruise missiles, other types of missiles at Israel, and a U.S. ship intercepted those missiles before they got to Israel and took them out of the sky. So that ship was not fired on, as initial report said. That ship basically intercepted those missiles. In Iraq and in Syria, U.S. bases were attacked by what is believed to be, but not confirmed to be, Iranian-built drones, and most likely were fired by Iranian-supported, call them terrorist groups. But Iran proper, the government, the military, the National Guard, the Quds Force did not attack the U.S. If they did, NATO would have been, Article 5 would have been enacted, NATO would be involved, the U.S. and NATO would be going to war with Iran right now. It did not happen. So I just wanted to put that to bed. I don't do Iran coverage right now. I might start, especially if I keep getting questions like that. But I just wanted to kind of dispel that. Again, I'm not sure where that information is coming from, but do your own research. Question if someone is telling you that, Iran is at war with the U.S., check mainstream media to start with, and then go deep after that on social media, etc. If you believe that Iran took a pot shot at the U.S. or whatever, again, check some YouTube creators, check all of the different the streams that we have online. You'll be able to find out really quick if that's even being talked about, and it's not. It didn't happen. The U.S. would wipe Iran off the map if that did happen, and it didn't. Anyways, so to talk about the losses that have happened over the last 24 hours. So this is Andrew Perpetua put out this sort of visual tracker that he uses for confirmed losses on the battle space, red being Russian, blue being Ukrainian. And while this is definitely not comprehensive of everything that is stated to be lost over the last 24 hours, and this was Andrew put this out 6 hours ago, so this does not include the most recent losses. You can see, I wanted to include this because you can see that, first of all, there's some drones, whatever, that were hit, there's Tulip, I believe, is a MLRS, I believe the 254 Tulipon, I think that's an BM21 is an MLRS, confirmed. Only one tank up here, and then you can see all of these BMPs. So even 6 hours ago, and then Andrew would have compiled this from the last 24 hours, I believe, you can see all of the BMPs, APVs that were being lost. And that has only increased, and it primarily seems to be still in the Avdiivka region. So one, check out Andrew Perpetua. He does great streams online, and he also puts together really good information like this for the nerds that want to know exactly what was lost. And I should use this as part of my costing for my losses, but I don't. Too much work. I'll let the smarties do their work, and I'll just kind of cover it at a higher level. Here's a few videos of the Avdiivka region, just to kind of show you where the losses are happening. This is from Special Kherson Cat. So I just wanted to point this out. Like, these are and I can't confirm it, but I'm pretty sure that a couple of these are like 3 days ago, and then one of these is 2 days ago, and then these are today. They're basically getting destroyed at the exact same spot by mines, by ATGMs, by artillery, whatever, and they just keep attacking with fresh metal, fresh meat. Like honestly, I don't know if this one is a I believe this one is a sort of a mobility kill. And then this one says, okay, well, I'll use you as a heat shield, whatever, and I'll just push you forward. And they run over an anti-tank mine. It just blows chunks off of it. And it looks like the one that was pushing it took worse damage than the one it was pushing. Look at the pock marks. Just thousands of shells, burned out grass. That could have been... Was that artillery? And these guys are just plowing on. So everybody got smoked back here. You've got 2 operational tanks left, both with cope cages. This guy just got hit, so he's done. There's equipment. Heavy shell. Maybe equipment there. Here's the tank. You think he's going to make it? I don't. ATGM hit him in the side. ATGM hit him on the other side. Then he ran over a tank mine. Dear Lord. That is... That's what's going on in Avdiivka on a regular basis. Oops. Russian TOS 122. So here's one of those MLRS TOS thermobaric flamethrowers. Right there. So it's got the full load of rockets on missiles on top. In a town in Avdiivka somewhere, being targeted by an FPV. All you gotta do is hit those rockets in the back and they're gonna go. Oh my lord. That is nuclear. Like, look at the destruction. Music. Oh, I missed it. Sorry, I missed it. This is what I meant to do. So look at the houses beforehand. See if you can see. So not that they're standing. They're missing their roofs, that sort of thing, right? But they still have walls. And then the walls that were on there are gone. Here comes SPG. I think. I don't know what that is. He's like, hey, where'd the tops go? Hey, Frank, where'd the tots go? This is the same video again. You know what? I did. Yeah, I thought it was a different video. Yeah, it's just the one hit. That one I watched. Oops. Those guys were just having a nap. So yeah. So anyways, that's just a little slice of life. Literally, you could watch a full day's worth of what's going on in Avdiivka. I did want to show you this deep state map. I am a fan of what they do. I'm just not a fan of how late they are. They do follow Ukrainian military guidelines. They don't show movement of territory taken, that sort of thing, for typically 48 hours, sometimes 72, or until they're told otherwise. If they're given a green light, they'll show it early. There's not a lot of movement that's gone on, as we know, in any other areas. But I did want to show you the Kherson bridgehead, right? Let me see if I can get this just right. This is Plashivka, Polchivka, and there's a couple other towns in there. I suck at them. But anyways, so here's the rail bridge, right? And here's where the new bridgehead is starting. And this is going back to October 13th. So you'll see. Oh, and so green obviously is Ukrainian held. Russian is, or red is Russian held, and this grayish area here is sort of contested area, no man's land. So there's the 14th, the 15th. Oh yeah, it skips the 15th for some reason. It goes 14th, 16th, 17th. You see, Ukrainians are pushing. 18th. Now they've expanded the contested area and they're eating into the Russian held area, and that jumps to the 19th. So 16th skips the 17th. Sorry, there's the 18th, and there's the 19th. So if Deep State Map is showing you that much movement over the last 4 days or so, 5 days, you can trust that it's a lot better than that, and more to come. So I want you to keep an eye on that space. This is, in my opinion, as I've said in numerous streams, winter is coming, rainy season is coming. This is the most fortified area, and this is the most fortified area in Ukraine. Yes, the Ukrainians are fixing the Russian troops in these areas. I think the plan is to starve them out there over the wintertime, fix them in place like a one big Bakhmut, right? Are the Ukrainians going to cut across here and basically, like make it to the Russian border over the wintertime? Almost 100% no. Are the Ukrainians going to make it to Mariupol or Melitopol before the winter comes or during the winter? Probably not. Not with the rainy season coming, that sort of thing. Can the Ukrainians make it across here with these 4 BTGs and possibly make a run for the border and cut the Russians off here anytime they want, especially when it's dry here? Yes, they can, 100%. Watch this space. Let's finish off with a speech from the man, the myth, the legend.
Fellow Ukrainians, I have just finished a call with U.S. President Biden. As always, a meaningful conversation, a conversation of allies. A strong signal of support, as much as needed for the victory. I am grateful to President Biden, to the Congress, both parties, and to the American people for their strong support and leadership. Leadership that helps unite the world to protect lives and the rules-based international order. Ukrainians know how important strong unity is in defending against terror, against aggression. Unity here in our country. Unity in partner countries, particularly in America. Unity of the world. We discussed further joint steps in the defense of freedom. We discussed defense support, including the fact that ATACMS can help us speed up the liberation of Ukraine from the occupier. Of course, we also talked about preserving assistance to Ukraine next year, about a significant support package for our country. America will support the implementation of the peace formula, and I have informed President Biden of the next major international meeting on the peace formula, which will take place in Malta this month. I asked President Biden about his visit to the Middle East and his view of the further developments. We share the same view that it is necessary to avoid further destabilization and incitement of war in this region of the world as well. Ukrainians and Americans, we sympathize with all the victims of the tragic events. Ukraine is ready to work together with America and all partners to stabilize the situation and save as many lives as possible. Today, I also spoke with UN Secretary General Guterres. We talked about how the UN institutions can help our country and our people during the winter period. We also talked about food security, about the routes of food exports from Ukraine in the Black Sea, about the need to protect Ukrainian ports from Russian terrorist attacks. I invited Mr. Secretary General to the Food Summit, the summit of our humanitarian initiative, Grain from Ukraine, which will be held in November. I also praised the UN's active participation in the global efforts on the peace formula and readiness to send a UN representative to the next meeting in the format of advisors. Of course, we also discussed the situation in Israel, Palestine, and the Middle East in general. The whole world must be consolidated so that peace reigns in every region of the world, everywhere on earth. And no matter what happens, all parties must ensure that ordinary civilians receive the necessary assistance and are able to flee hostilities. Any form of terror and warmongering is unacceptable. One more thing. I started this day with a working trip to Kyiv region, those towns and villages affected by the Russian occupation. I am grateful to everyone who is working to restore everything that was destroyed by the occupier. Ukraine is not left alone. We are being helped by governments of different countries and philanthropists. Of course, a lot needs to be done. A lot needs to be rebuilt, restored, so that not a single ruin is left in Ukraine. But all this work is based on one thing: the sincerity of the hearts of the people who are with us, who value life, freedom, and courage as much as we do in Ukraine. I believe that such people are the majority in the world, and we must continue to do everything possible and impossible to ensure that the majority of the world stands with Ukraine. Glory to everyone who fights and works for Ukraine, for freedom. Thank you to everyone who helps us. Glory to Ukraine.
There you go. Slava Ukraini. Have a great Friday. Tell someone you love them. Talk soon. Bye, everyone.